Yep. Good morning, everyone. So, in our last class, we learned about working with TypeScript language, and we learned about TypeScript language basics. Language we learned variables, data types, operators, statements, and functions. We learned about all these concepts. So, what is new in TypeScript when compared to JavaScript? We learned, right? Uh, Variable differences, data type, how to configure for both primitive, non-primitive types, functions. Also, we learned. What is new in function is function must be defined with one return type. If there is no return value, it is configured as what? Void. Now, after understanding that, what else new in functions? Optional parameters are new. In functions, you can have optional parameters, they are new. Next, in TypeScript language, we need to understand about TypeScript object-oriented programming. Some object-oriented programming are same, means object-oriented programming features are same. Like you have a class, object, all these are same. What is new in TypeScript object-oriented programming, we will see. JavaScript also supports object-oriented programming, but limited. Here TypeScript, what is new in object-oriented programming? Let's see. First option is in OOP concepts. First, we need to understand about contracts in OOP. First point is contract. Generally, what is a contract in object-oriented programming? Usually, contract means it will set some rules. According to the rules only you have to design. Already, we discussed about object. So already we learned about object. When we discussed about object, actually we have an object and the object needs to be designed according to certain rules. Then what we done? We defined the rules here. Now, according to the rules, we have to design the object. We configured the rules. According to the rules, we need to design the object. Suppose what are the rules? Name should be a string and price must be a number. Like this we define. Now, obviously, we have to design according to those rules. So this object is TV. It should be designed according to the rules. Name must be a string type and price must be a number type. Number type, some number we define. That is how we define the rules for an object. Now I want to create another object and I want to use the same rules. Then again, you have to rewrite the rules. You need to redesign the rules. That means the rules that you defined for creating an object or rules that you later create for designing a class. Rules are not only for object. For designing any component, we need certain rules. We have to design according to the rules. Those rules are called as what? Contracts. Now, what is the problem in this rule is it is not reusable. It is not easily extendable. Extendable means we want to add one more rule. We cannot uh, easily do that. Why? Because again, I have to modify in this rule. If the same rule is used in 3-4 places, again, every time we need to modify that. So whatever the rules you written, they are not reusable. They are not easily extendable. What is the main concept of OOP? OOP comes with the feature of what? Reusability. The main concern of OOP is reusability, separation, extensibility. All these are the important features. So now the contract is nothing but contracts allow to design reusable, extendable rules. And in general programming, we call this as what? In general programming, we call that as, just see that, see. Yeah, in general programming, we call this contract as whatever the contract you defined. In programming, we call it as interface. We call that as an interface. Generally, if anybody asked you like what is the job of an interface in any OOP language, what is the purpose of an interface in OOP language? It is used for designing rules. It is used for designing contracts. Means architecturally, the term that we use is contracts. Anything else, whatever you try to explain, by your explanation, they can understand that you are a fresher. Because an architectural point of view, interfaces are used for designing contracts. That is the technical term. And anything else you try to explain or tell a story about interface, then that explanation itself tells that you are not experienced. You are just after all a fresher of OOP learning. Because OOP learning learners have a explanation about interface. They try to tell something about interface, this, that. But it's very simple. Interfaces are used for designing contracts. Contracts will define set of rules. According to the contract, we design components. In any project, we have to design everything according to certain rules and standards. And those rules are defined by using what? Interface. So what is a contract? Technically, what is the concept of contract is actually contract. A contract defines rules for designing any component. A contract defines rules for designing any component. So it enables reusability, separation, and easy extensibility. It enables reusability, separation, and easy extensibility. In object-oriented programming, contracts are designed as interface. In object-oriented programming, contract is designed as interface. A contract is designed as interface. A contract is designed as interface. So in object-oriented programming, the purpose of interface is to design contracts. Design contract. And what is a contract? A contract defines rules about designing component. That means you have to design according to the rules. Now, what is the main purpose? Without that also we can define rules. We already mentioned that. But how do we make this reusable? It's very simple now. We will create one interface. Interface will have a name. Any name. Suppose I give I product. It's a tradition. Traditionally, for contracts, we give a prefix starting with I. That is only tradition. You can give any name, doesn't matter. Interface. And interface contains only rules. An interface must contain only rules. It should not contain any implementation. It contains only rules. Rules means it contains only description, declaration. It should not contain any definition. It should contain only declaration, not about the implementation. That means suppose name is equal to empty, that is invalid. Because what an interface can contain rule. Rule means what should be the name and what should be the type. That's it. You cannot have a value. Implementation cannot be there. You can just define the rule. You cannot implement it. Implementation is done later. A contract should contain only rule. That means what I want a name, and what is its data type? String. That's how we define. What else? I want a price, and what is its data type? Number. That means we designed a contract with only rules, and number is equal to 0. It's invalid. You cannot assign, initialize any values. You can have only declaration. Now, what is the point? I want to use these rules for these two components. Then it's very simple. Remove this object and keep the type product. That means we need to implement this I product. Then according to that, we have to design. That means now it becomes easily reusable. Easily reusable. It should be designed with the name, some iPhone. It must be designed with price. So some price like this we configure. Suppose you are trying to ignore the price, then obviously it will say that mobile is missing with price. And of course, you have to extend the rule. That means you want to add one more rating, then automatically here both will ask rating is missing in both places. You can easily extend the rules. That means you can add a new rule so that all are updated with that rule. Now we need to add that. First basic point is it must contain only syntactically interface and interface name. And here it should contain the rules. Contract must contain only declaration, not implementation. Contract must contain only declaration, not implementation. And here important point is You can have rules for both properties as well as methods. Generally, rules are not only for property. You can have rule for a contract can define rules for both property and method. It can define rules for both property and method. Rule is not only for properties, for methods also. How do we define rule for methods? We know how to define the rules. So you see now here, I am defining quantity and I am defining total. Total is a method and it should return a number. Print is a method and it should be void. That's how we configure. That means rules are not only for properties, but they are also for methods. How a method should function, what it should return. These rules also defined inside contract. Contract contains rules for both properties and methods. So syntactically, it is like this. We have interface and interface name. And we have a property. And for that, we have to mention the data type. We have a method. So we need to return type or void type. That's how we configure. Say a contract contains rules for both property and methods. We can have rule for both property and method. The properties and methods. So here, same, you learned the concept. A contract can have optional rules defined using null reference character. Null reference character is what? Question mark. It can have optional rules defined using null reference character. A contract can have optional rules defined using null reference character. Optional rules can be defined using a null reference character. So we can have optional rules. Optional rules we know already. But here one important question asked in interview is, why a rule should be optional? You are saying that contract means rules. Rules means everything in the rule must be implemented. And why you are saying you can ignore it? You are saying rules. And why you are saying that you can skip the rule? Question understood? Why you have a facility to skip the rule? You are saying rule. Rule means according to that you have to design everything. And you are saying that this is the rule, but you don't need to follow. In which situation you need a rule which can be optional? These are typical questions related to little experienced people. That means they say that means these kind of questions will come. Why you have to ignore a rule? What is you are saying rule? Rule means everything in the rule must be there. And why you say that it is a rule but you don't need to follow? What is the requirement? They have given that facility. by using question mark, you can ignore. If it is a rule, why it is ignored? Actually, for that, you need to understand one concept. And what is the concept is, whenever you design a project or whenever you design any module in a project contains set of modules, different modules. We have two important points. Every module, every project will have an objective and it will have a goal. Every module, every project have a objective and goal. What is difference? What is difference between an objective and a goal? What is objective and what is goal? Or no? Objective means it is time bound and it must be achieved. It must be achieved and it is time bound. Time bound means you should achieve within that specified time. Goal means you may or may not achieve. That means you may achieve or you may not. And usually projects are defined with some objectives and goals. Goal can be achieved or may not be achieved. If achieved, good. If not achieved, it's okay. It doesn't affect my application. For example, suppose we are designing a bus ticket booking app. In bus ticket booking, we have options like availability of bus and ticket booking, ticket booking, and live tracking. These are the three important modules. Now, which one is optional? We can ignore, it doesn't matter. Bus availability? No, that is the primary thing. If a application is not showing availability of bus, then it is waste of application. Ticket booking, the main purpose is ticket booking, right? Both are compulsory. They must achieve that. Live tracking, you can ignore. In some cases, it works, it doesn't work. It depends on whether it is having a GPS system or not. And if it is not working, doesn't matter. We have alternate ways of informing that. Now, these two are considered as objective, and this is the goal. If you achieve live tracking and show them, very good. If you don't, it's okay. It is optional. But application should have a live tracking. Some bus which have tracking, they will show. Some bus which don't have, they can ignore. That means it is a rule that it must be there, but it's not mandatory to work everywhere. Every project have this. Generally, whenever you people just know about a project, but a project have to undergo a lot of documentation. That means there will be so many things in a document. The document is the main script for project. And documentation comprises of lot of things. By seeing the documents only, a developer can understand what is the job of a that application. Actually, if you are experienced people, when you go to any company, what they do is they have to put you in a project. Nobody will sit beside you and explain you about their project. They will simply send you all the documents. You have to read and know about the project. Nobody will sit and explain you. Just they will give you set of documents. By reading those documents, you need to understand that particular project. After 1-2 months, they give time because you are new to that company. And that means you are an experienced person, but immediately you are not kept in project. They will give you all the documents. These 1-2 months, you'll know about their project. After 2 months, you will have an appointment with a project manager. That project manager, you will not meet the project manager until you finish your documenting and all. After 2-3 months, sometimes in companies, a project manager appointment is given and you will go and talk to the project manager personally. At that moment, project manager understands your skill sets. He will ask you what you understood about my project, and you need to explain him what you understood about the project. And if he is not satisfied with your skills and performance, means your understanding about the project and all, he may fire out from there. Many people get a job, they work for 2-3 months, they are kicked out just because project manager is not satisfied with your skills. Interviewer may interview, he is satisfied with the skills, but finally the project manager also will check. And he will not do that immediately after 2-3 months. Some companies, and what happens is after identifying that, okay, your skills are good in this area, then he will put you in that area in a project. That means in a project where to assign you, that he will decide. In which team to assign you, he will decide. If he is not satisfied with your skills at that level, then he will simply say that we don't want this person. That's the reason even you are experienced, so you are selected for a company, you are not guaranteed in a job until or unless you are assigned to any project. And it will take time to assign you to a project until or unless it is very, very much needed to them. Technically, the documentations have a lot of things. In that, every module, every system have a objective and a goal. What is objective? You must achieve, and it is time bound. So means within this time you should achieve. Goal means you may or may not. So if anyone asks, why should I have a optional rule? Because if you achieve it, very good. If you don't, then it doesn't matter. For example, a shopping application. In a shopping application, you have product name, product price, product related rating, which is optional. Which is optional. You will see several products don't have rating. If anybody buy them, then only they give a rating. That means so many products, you will see that there is no rating because nobody have purchased till now. If any purchased, then given a review, then the rating will come. So name and price compulsory, but rating can be ignored. For some products, rating. You buy the product, it's not mandatory that you should give a rating. From your side, rating is empty. For another person may give a rating. That means it is optional. Such features are defined as optional rules. Optional rules. So how do you define optional rules? By using question mark. So we know that. So how to give also we know. How do we give? Interface and the interface name. And we have a property. If you want this as optional, question mark. There is a method. You want it optional, question mark. We can have methods as optional, properties as optional. Already optional, I told you. A contract can have optional rules. And why you need them? So optional rules are required to define. Optional rules are required to define goals for any contract. To define goals for any contract. So here objective is time bound. And mandatory to implement. Goal is not time bound and optional to implement. Objective and goal are important. Right. These are optional rules. The rule can be optional. So if any property or any method you want to set as optional, then you can just put a question mark. So here what we do in this example, suppose I am defining this print as optional, then you can just put a question mark. First, we need to implement others. What is the next one? Only one I will take here. Fine. So what is the next one is quantity. We should implement the quantity and total is compulsory. And total have to return a number. That means it should return a number means. So total function should return this dot quantity into this dot price. We need to implement that. And what is missing here is print is missing. Print is missing. Then we say that print is optional, then it will be fine. It will not show any error. Optional rules can be defined. But however we want to print, then we define print and print have to print the details. Console.log. We have a name, this dot name, and we have a price and this dot price and we have total and this dot total is a method. How you define the rules like this. And I want to print, then tv dot what print. Print is to be defined here. Of course, we know that it can be optional. That means it can be undefined. You see, I put a question mark, it will not show because question mark is only while declaration, not while using. Right? It is only for defining the rule. And I told you that this is not an error. Right? What is that? It is indicating that it may be undefined, just a warning. And we know that how to run this. So let's run this in a terminal. Suppose we'll open this here. So command prompt. So node tsc index.ts. and the node index.js. It is going to print those details. Price, total, name, what is there, it is printing them. Now here, another important concept is whatever the rules you define, after initializing some values, you can assign any another value. For example, what is the price? Price is 40,000. If I want, I can change it. TV.price. Before printing, I can change the price to 60,000. Then obviously what will happen? Compile and run this again. So when I run this, it is allowing to change. But once we initialize, we should not allow to change. Once the value is initialized, a functionality is initialized, you should not allow to modify. Then a contract can have read-only rules also. A contract can have read-only rules. Read-only rules. What are read-only rules? Usually, every rule can be assigned with a new value or functionality. Can be assigned with a new value or functionality after initialization. You know the difference between initialization and assignment, right? You can prevent assignment. You can prevent assignment by configuring the rule as read-only. You can prevent assignment by configuring the rule as read-only. The rules can be read-only. You can prevent assignment by configuring the rule as read-only. Assignment by configuring the rule as read-only. Generally, every rule can be assigned with a new value or a new function after initializing them. And if you don't want to allow that, then you can configure as read-only. That means you can see here, price is allowing to modify. I don't want to modify, then I can configure this as read-only. If I define as read-only, then automatically price will not allow to assign. That means cannot assign to price because it is read-only. You can initialize, but you cannot assign. That means when you compile and run this, usually what happens, it will show a message saying that you cannot assign. When you run this, what will happen? It will run the previous one. And actually this is previous one, not the current one. That is not the previous one because compiling failed here. So this is the previous one. Previously we already compiled. Suppose we are not compiling. I will remove this JS file. I will remove the JS file. JS file is not there. And usually if you try to compile here, what will happen? When you try to compile, the compilation fails. When compilation fails, node index dot what? JS. So it is showing the value. Why it is showing the value? Because JavaScript allows it. Here TypeScript will not allow, but JavaScript allows because JavaScript don't have any read-only. It doesn't have any read-only. Then how it implements this in real time? That you will see when you work with TypeScript directly with React, you will understand that. But what is the main purpose of this is read-only. When it is converted into JavaScript, it will work. It doesn't matter. Why it will work? Why? Because it is after translating into JavaScript, what you are doing, you are running JavaScript program. But in future, what will happen in React or anywhere when you implement this? It will fail. It will not allow to even convert. That means the JavaScript is not converted until or unless there are no errors in your TypeScript. Here it is no problem. Why? Because we are not using a project here. We are just using two files. I haven't mentioned the rules now. Rules are mentioned in which location? tsconfig. In that there will be rules. What is that rule? That rule indicates that if it is unable to compile successfully, don't convert into JS. Those rules are automatically defined while working with your React. So there it will never compile until or unless there is it is free of errors. If there is error, it will do. That's what I said. You don't worry about errors, warnings here. Why? Because even it shows error warning, it will compile. It will run successfully. That is just to understand the process, how it works. That means how we can restrict the TypeScript that it will not allow to assign after initialization. What you can do that we can do by using what? We can implement by using read only. How do we define that syntactically? So we have a interface and interface have a name and it can have any property or a method set with what? Read only. You can configure in this way. We can define rules. So a contract have optional rules and a contract have read only rules. Read only rules. Another important is you can extend a contract. You can extend a contract by adding new rules. So you can extend a contract by adding new rules. And usually extensibility is achieved by using by using what? Achieved by using inheritance. Na? It is inheritance by using inheritance. It is achieved by using inheritance. Extensibility is achieved by using inheritance. And how inheritance works? So a contract extends another contract. A contract extends another contract. And very important is it allows to implement multiple contracts. That means it is nothing but multiple inheritance is allowed for contracts. Multi-level, single, multi-level, and multiple. In JavaScript, concepts you already learnt about classes, inheritance, and all. So the same rules here also we have to follow. I already told you inheritance rule is there. What is inheritance rule? A derived class constructor must call the superclass constructor. Here contracts don't have any constructors. Contract doesn't have any constructor. So if contract is not having a constructor, so what does it means? It will support multiple inheritance. Because multiple inheritance cannot be achieved if there are contracts. What? Constructor. Why? Because it leads to constructor deadlock. It leads to a mechanism called constructor deadlock. If you tell ambiguous issues will come, he will throw you out of interview. Understood? That means you should never say inheritance means ambiguous issue will come. If you tell that, he will understand that you are after all basic YouTube learner or normal learner. Because we should never use the word ambiguity issue about multiple inheritance. Architecturally, it is because of constructor deadlock. Constructor deadlock. Why multiple inheritance is not supported? Multiple inheritance is not supported for classes, but it is supported for interface. Why it is supported for interface? It is supported for interface because interface don't have a construct. Why it is not supported for classes? Because it leads to constructor deadlock. Constructor deadlock means we learned the rule. Suppose we are having class 1, we are having class 2, we are having class 3. Every class have a constructor. Every class is having a constructor. Now, as per the rules, we learned that we are having a class called derived. This is extending class 1, suppose, and class 2 and class 3. Then according to that, derived class have a constructor. This derived class constructor have to call a super constructor. That is the rule we learned, inheritance rule. Now, which super constructor it refers? Is it first one? Is it second one? Is it third one? Now, actually, do you know what happens? There will be a memory. In this memory, this first constructor is waiting for second to load. Second is waiting for third to load. Third is loading for second to load. That means all constructors are waiting for each other. No constructor is going into memory. This is called as what? Deadlock. Because of this deadlock, you cannot implement multiple. In general, what you tell about why multiple inheritance not supported? Ambiguity problem. What is ambiguity problem? Huh? What is ambiguity problem means? Two classes can have same name members. Am I right? If they don't have, it will work. If two classes don't have same name members, then multiple inheritance work. Understood the question point? Generally, Java or C++, all these people, what they say? Ambiguity problem. What is ambiguity means? Two classes can have same name members. If they don't have same name members, will it work? You are saying they may have same name members. If they don't have same name members, will it work? Still it will not work. That means ambiguity is not the problem. What is the problem? Constructor is the problem. Because if any constructor is not going into memory, then inheritance is incomplete. Inheritance is completed only when there is a constructor in memory. And all these constructors wait for each other. There is no priority. First priority, second priority, third. Then this leads to constructor deadlock. Why it is not a problem? You know, interface also can have same name members. Two interfaces also can have same name members. Their ambiguity problem will not come up. Then why it will support inheritance multiple for interfaces? Because they don't have a construct. That means multiple inheritance possibility, not possibility, depends on constructors. That is constructor deadlocks, right? So technically, it allows to implement multiple contracts. How it will allow? Because it is possible as interface cannot interface will not have a constructor, as interface will not have a constructor. Interface will not have a constructor. So, and if constructor is not there, then how object is created? Because object creation is managed by constructor. What is the purpose of constructor? Constructor is used for instantiation, creating an object. Then get an object for an interface. It will not allow instantiation because it doesn't have constructor. But not having a constructor is an advantage. It allows multiple inheritance. It allows multiple inheritance, but it will not allow to create an object. So here interface will not allow to create an instance. And obviously you cannot create an instance because all interface members are incomplete. They are just rules. They are not implemented with any values. Right? So how you can extend an interface? Interface have I name. So this is interface name. Extends contract 1, contract 2. Like this, we can have multiple contracts. It can extend multiple contracts. It supports single, multi-level, and multiple. You know, multi-level means a contract is extended. That extended contract is again extended, right? You can use. So here what we are doing is, this is read only. Another important here is we are defining, so another contract, so I category interface. So another contract called interface I category. This is having category name as string type. I want this product to use this I category. Then it can extends I category. If it is extending I category, then obviously anybody who is implementing I product, category is missing. That means without disturbing the existing contract, we are adding a new rule to it. We are not modifying the contract. Without modifying the contract, we are adding new rules. How? If it is extending another contract, then those rules can be used by this contract. What is the purpose of extensibility? Without disturbing, we have to add new features into that. That means obviously if it is optional, it can ignore. If it is optional, you can ignore it. There is no problem. If it is not optional, then you have to define. If it is optional, you can ignore. However, category name is some electronics. That's what we are defining. And we want to print that. Then in the next line, category is equal to this dot what the category name. That means we can access that and we can implement that. So usually a contract can extend multiple contracts. That means we have an interface that is I rating, and here we have a rating. Rating is what type? Number. And now this product can implement both category and rating, multiple. It supports multiple inheritance. It can extend both of them. When it is extending both of them, then obviously here we have to implement rating as 4.2, and we need to present that. So this is slash n rating is equal to, so this dot what rating, it is going to do that. So this is implementing multiple inheritance. That means a contract is extending multiple contracts. It is extending multiple. So this is another point. I will copy this. This is an example. You compile and run this, and that is an example of, so how you can configure a contract with all the basic points. These are the points. So what is the purpose of an interface in OOP? An interface is used for designing contracts. And what is a contract? A contract defines rules for designing any component. To design any component, if you want to set certain rules, then you can configure that. And remember here, the contract can be used as a type. Contract is used as a type here. In this case, we are using contract as a type. It is used as a type. That means you see now, suppose I am defining like this. Interface I product. Okay. In that we have a name string type. We have a price number type. Just two. We are creating, so we are creating some data, and it is an I product type data. That means what does it means? It should be a product type data. That means it should be an object with key and value. But if I mention this as an array, that means now it is not an object. Now it is expecting what? Array. It is expecting an array. Array of objects. And every object must have a name. Every object must have a price. That's how we need to define. That means a contract can be used as a type. Generally, people think that only class is used as a type, but in here in various occasions, a contract is used as a type. That means what is the data type of this data? Data type is a product type. And it is one, then it is only one product, one object. If it is array, then it is a collection of objects. That means it is a collection of objects. And every object should have a name and it should have a price. That's how we configure the detail. So that means if it is not defined as array, then it is not an array. It is expecting only one object. It is expecting only one object. So usually array requires an array representation. That means you can use the contract as a type. So a contract is used as type for any object or reference, for any memory reference. A contract is used as a type for any memory reference. What is the default type? The default type is object. The default type is object because every contract will have a key and value. That means the default is what? Object. The default type is object. You can configure as array. Sorry, this is I product. This is object type. I product array. It is an array of object type. Like this we can configure. So contract and how do we use them? This is one concept about how we can use interface. Now there is more work here. We are using interface as a contract for object. Not only that, it can be used for a contract for classes. We'll see how to do that. So first point, what are the contracts and how to handle them? Next important, in object-oriented programming, after understanding the contracts, so next option is we are having classes, the contracts and classes. Already class related rules you learn. Already in JavaScript, you know about the class. But here, what is new? What is new about classes? The same thing, whatever you learned in JavaScript is same. But what is new is here. So class declaration and the expression is same as in JavaScript. And here it supports ES6 plus static members. Already, you know, JavaScript already from higher version, it is having static members. Earlier, it doesn't have. So JavaScript latest version have static members, and TypeScript also supports static members. So class members are same. That means it will have a property. It will have an accessor. So it will have a method and it will have a constructor. These are the members of class. Already we know that class members are properties, accessors, method, and constructor. So what is new additionally here is actual. What is new extra here? Class supports access modifiers. Like what are the access modifiers? We have a public and private and protected. These are the access modifiers. Actually, private access modifier is already there in JavaScript. So JavaScript latest version support private access modifiers, and protected is the new one. So protected is the new. Private already supported in JavaScript. How to create private members in JavaScript? Two ways, hash, another weak map. In JavaScript, you have a weak map. By using weak maps, you can create private members, or we can create using hash. So newly JavaScript supports private members from latest versions already it is having. For example, you are having a class is demo. In this class, we have a name. It is a string type, some value it is there. And we have a price, and the price is a number type, and it is having some value. And we want it to be private. Generally, JavaScript supports hash. It makes it private. In JavaScript, a private member is defined with hash. Or we can configure as weak map. Weak map is an old technique. This is the new. That means now the price becomes a private member. It becomes a private member. You cannot access outside. Suppose you create an object for the new demo, and through that object only name is available. Price is not available. Why price is not available? Because it is private. It is accessible only within the class. Within the class. JavaScript already have this. Only the new is protected. Access modifiers are new. So what is public, private, protected access modifiers? These are new. What are static, non-static members? Static, non-static also there. JavaScript, you see, suppose this is JavaScript. In JavaScript, we have a class demo. And here we define hash, some name is equal to TV. That is a private member. That is a private member. And price is equal to something. This is public member. This all you learned in JavaScript. And you have static s is equal to 0. That is a static one. And you know that difference between static and non-static members. What is difference? Static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete memory. That means always static, non-static definition is that static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete memory. Generally, if anyone asks us what is static, non-static, do you know what people give answer? Static is accessible by class name. Who asked you how to access? I asked what is static. Right? Generally, we ask what is static. Then do you know what is people's answer? Majority learners. Static is accessible by class name. Who asked you how it is accessed? I know that it is accessed by class name. That is the behavior of static. I am asking purpose of static. And majority people tell this point only. You cannot create an object. So what is that? That is all behavior. We are asking what is the purpose? Why you need a static member in a class? Why you need a static member in class? To handle continuous memory. Static member allocates continuous memory. Non-static members will be discrete memory. That is the main point. So here one new concept we'll see. That means what is static, non-static. So here I will give a simple concept. So what is the meaning of static, non-static? So let's put a point here. The question is, what is difference between static and non-static? Non-static, or you call it as dynamic. Difference between static and non-static. So what is the point is, the term static and non-static both are related to memory. The word static, non-static, these are related to memory. What is the memory is actually, because see, in latest JavaScript, all these are present. In JavaScript itself, you should know, right? So here we have memory. This is the memory we are having. And actually, the memory, we have two types. The static memory and the non-static. So non-static is the memory. Okay. Now what is the point here is, we are having a class. We are having a class. And this class, some demo, is having a static member. Static S is 0. And it is having a non-static 0. If you don't give static, then it is non-static. Now, the two memories are allocated for this. So two memories are allocated, one static, another one non-static. Now, usually what happens in static memory, so S is set to 0. In non-static, N is set to 0. We have static, non-static set to 0. Now in static memory, I am increasing S equal to S plus 1 and I am increasing N equal to N plus 1. We are increasing the value by 1. Now what happens is you created an object object 1 for demo class. You created first object for demo class. This object will go and use the static memory. It will go and use the static memory. And when it uses the static memory, what is S value? S value is 0 plus 1 is 1. And after it finished using the memory, it will still continue the memory. The memory is still alive. The memory is still alive. Now object 1 will go and use the dynamic non-static memory. When it uses the non-static memory, here also N value will be how much? 0 plus 1. That means N will be 1. After it finished using, this memory will reset. This memory will reset means it will delete that again. That means N value is again how much? 0. Now what happened is you created second object. Remember, you created a second object for same class. When you created a second object for the same class, when you created second object, it will go to the static memory, which is continuing from previous object. That means now this time for second object, S will be 1 plus 1, it is 2. But when it goes to the dynamic memory, this dynamic memory is again how much? It again N is 0 plus 1 is how much? 1. That means the static memory is continuing. Even it is for a different object. The memory continues and non-static is discrete. It is disconnected. After your work, it is deleted. But static is continuous memory. Generally, that is the major behavior between static and non-static. In real time, where we use this, I will show you one point. Static is continuous memory. Let's prove this concept. How do we prove the concept? Let's go to the TypeScript. We have a class demo. Demo class is having static yes 0 and non-static also 0. Non-static is also 0. Now we have a constructor. In this constructor, we are accessing static. Usually static members are accessed by class name. They cannot be accessed through an instance. Inside the class, outside the class, they are accessed by class name. But this should not be definition. How you are accessing, that is not the definition of static, right? So how static is accessed? By using class name. So demo.s is equal to demo.s plus 1. And how non-static is accessed? Using this. Inside the class using this, outside the class using an object. So this dot n is equal to this dot n plus 1. Both are increased by 1. I have a print method. This print method is printing both details. What it is printing? S equal to demo dot what? S. N equal to what? This dot n. It is printing S and n. What we are doing, we are creating object 1 for that class. Through object 1, I am accessing the print method. I am creating object 2 for that class. Completely two different objects. Through object 2, I am printing. I am creating object 3 for the same class. 3 different objects for the same class, and we are printing. 3 different objects are created for same class. Now see what happens. I will compile this tsc index.ts and node index.js. S value will be 1, 2, 3, but n is 1. That means 3 different objects, but S is continuing. That means static refers to a continuous memory. The memory allocated for first object will continue for the next. That is static memory. And non-static resets every time. That means the memory allocated for an object is destroyed after that object is finished. In real time, where we use this. For example, you are doing some money transaction. Money transaction, suppose PhonePe, Paytm, you are sending money to a person. When you are sending money to a particular person through phone number, you are sending. Through phone number, when you are sending money to a person, it will ask, please verify your password. You entered your password, money transaction complete. To the same person, immediately within the next second, you want to send some more money. It will ask password again. To the same person, within next second, you are sending money again. Then why it is asking password again? If it is a new person, it's okay. To the same person, within next second, I am sending money. Then it is asking again. Means what happened to the password I entered previously? That is destroyed after the transaction is completed. So it is using which kind of memory? Non-static. Non-static means it is using which kind of memory? Dynamic. Dynamic. Dynamic means discrete. Discrete means disconnected. After the transaction complete, memory destroyed. What is good? It is safe. It uses less memory. But it is not good for continuous operation. Suppose you are watching a website. In that you need to watch 10 pages. In the first page, it asked you to log in. And every page it asks you to log in. That's not good. Then what should happen? It asked you to log in first page, and the same should continue to the 10 pages. There we need continuous operation. What is good? Continuous memory is available. What is bad? If I am not using second, third pages, memory is still alive. It uses more memory. It is not safe. It can be easy to hack. So static is good for continuous operations. Non-static is good for discrete operations. That is the definition you should give for static and non-static. Because see, you people learn Java, .NET and all these. When you go to interviews now, when they ask the same question what you learned, and they are not satisfied with your answers, that means you will think that I answered correctly as I learned, but they say that no. For real time, these terms don't suit. That means what definitions you learned for learning, they don't suit for real time. Because real time architectural terms I need. I don't need your general definitions. Your book, your YouTube, your website knowledges are not enough there. You need technical terms to understand. And that is what modern generation people have to learn. Right? That is where majority you people face in many interviews. Remember my words, attend interviews, you tell your own definitions, what you learned in Java or .NET or any technology, your interviewer is not satisfied with the answers. Majority interviews you will face that. And you will think that I given the same what I learned. But he is not satisfied with those answers because he wants technical. He wants architectural answer for that. And these are important to understand. So how you describe static, non-static? So the answer is actually, what is the point about static? It refers to continuous memory. It refers to continuous memory. Memory allocated For first object will continue for next. It uses more memory. It is good for continuous operations. A static member is accessible within class, within or outside class by using class name. That is the accessibility. Non-static or say dynamic. It refers to discrete memory. Memory is newly allocated for object every time. It is safe and uses less memory. It is good for disconnected actions. It is accessible within class by using this keyword and outside class by using an instance of class. And this is the POC for that. That means proof of concept. Proof of concept example is this. How you prove these points. That is the example I showed you. So whenever you try to explain a concept, interviewer will ask you proof. Prove me that practically with an example. And if you cannot prove whatever you are explaining, then you are failed in interview. That means you tell some definition, you need to prove the definition. So every high level interview happens with these proofs only, right? So at beginning level, they don't much concentrate on that. But at experience level, these proof of concepts are mandatory. That means you said something, you should prove and show that. So this is one, and this is already there in JavaScript. JavaScript have static and non-static. JavaScript is also having private. So, but what is new in TypeScript? We have 3 different access modifiers. JavaScript uses prefix symbols, but here we have access modifiers. What are the public, private, and protected? Now you need to understand the difference. What is difference between public, private, and protected? Now we have 2 important things. How classes will implement contracts, how classes are extended, and how we use abstraction. What is abstraction? How abstraction works. So which is not there in your JavaScript, it is available here. That we'll see in next session. Right. Tomorrow we will discuss about abstraction and how the polymorphism works, classes, how they implement. One simple point we will learn. If we know that, you have some more generics, interfaces, namespaces, module systems, how to handle them. That we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we'll continue. 2-3 more sessions, we will finish TypeScript. It will take 2 more sessions to finish TypeScript. And whatever TypeScript I am teaching you here, That TypeScript is enough for in future Angular or other technologies also. That means this TypeScript is enough to deal with any technology with TypeScript. Whatever you learned here, that is enough to deal any technology with TypeScript. So I am giving detail about TypeScript so that you can handle this not only with React, in future with Angular or other technologies also, right? Because Angular mandatory uses TypeScript as a language, and this knowledge is enough there, how to handle, right? Then tomorrow we'll continue with the other concept. Okay, right?